Hey, Greg. Okay. So, it is another episode of Write Once, Read Many. This one is 25.5 from, of course, Arc 25 Scarab. Let's see. Our audience participation reminder is, which character are you most aligned with from the council meeting scene, as depicted in the art that is speed drawing its way? As for the themes, as always, things are escalating over time. Escalation. We have like such big numbers of people as demanded as like amounts needed before Glass-Steagwenier or Mordnog will help. We've got compromise. They do come to some compromises, especially like the Tanda and Mordnog does with Cauldron, if not with the others. Bloop. Alright, the speed draw's done. Final image there. And then the last one I wrote down was moral dilemmas. Like, it's pretty obvious that lots of people are getting killed constantly by Khonsu, but regardless of that, the heroes don't feel like they can throw around other people's lives. Like, it's one thing for... And this is like a moral debate between the characters, but from the hero's perspective, it's one thing when people die against, like, Khonsu or Behemoth or whoever, and it's another thing when they willingly sacrifice those people. Because, you know, it brings up a host of other questions, such as, who are the people that this happens to, etc. I guess moving on from the themes, to the chapter review, or I guess not review, but rundown. So the previous chapter, as we may remember, let us know that Khonsu could teleport around the world to avoid the defending forces. And it's been 3 days since he first appeared, and he's just been able to heal any meaningful damage they've inflicted, and he has just continued evading them. Aside from all the people he's killed, Khonsu also managed to get a nuclear weapon to go off in Russia by using his time power on like a weapon stockpile and degrading all the stuff. And no one is able to, like, rest easy between the fight, even if they're not doing any of the fighting, because he could potentially show up wherever they are, like, literally anywhere on the planet. And even the strongest heroes chasing him around have to take periodic breaks between fighting. They talk about Legend doing 2 on, 1 off, Alexandria doing 2 on, then 2 off. And as we know, it's a Pretender as Alexandria. And I think the reason I refer to Pretender that way is because of Silver Age X-Men, where she wasn't just Jean Grey, it was Jean Grey as Marvel Girl was her character name. It was not Scott Summers as Cyclops. It was either Scott Summers or Cyclops, but it was definitely Jean Grey as Marvel Girl, which is funny. Anyway, forgetting about Silver Age X-Men for 5 seconds. Oh, Vic showed up. So Taylor has been awake for an unclear amount of time, and all the Chicago wards, including her, are like perpetually in their costumes, just waiting around. It seems like none of them can sleep, and they're just milling about for, obvious reasons, as just discussed. And then Tecton comes over and is talking to Taylor, telling her to like actually sleep. She says that she's napped, but she's probably been awake for more than a day, I would guess, just based on the Taylor that we know. So Taylor starts like kind of rambling to him, like instead of justifying that she's not like going to sleep for some other reason, she starts saying, I only ever wanted to do something to help. And Tecton is slightly yes-anding her with, I know. And then she starts telling this whole story about like how she's always been trying to work toward the greater good. And then he's just like, yeah. And then she keeps telling her story, and his only response is, you're not a bad person, Taylor. And then she's frustrated. She's like, being good or bad was never a thing for me. Although I really like this moment where when going through her own history, she says, again and again, I've escalated in terms of the kind of power I wield. And then he says, kind of the first substantive thing he said so far is, do you think you're more powerful now with the wards? And she says yes, which might surprise some of us, but she gives her rationale, which is like being able to work with the heroes and reach out to the villains is a lot more powerful than before. So Tecton says again that she needs sleep, and she asks, this could be like a thesis statement for parts of huge sections of the book, but it's, why is it that I get more powerful over time, and yet I feel more and more helpless? And then Tecton hits her with you ask too much of yourself. You could have all the power in the world, and you'd still feel like you should do more. She brings up Brockton Bay, and Tecton's like, we fought Behemoth with Brockton Bay capes. It's fine. And then he finally convinces her to go to sleep. She sort of leaves the area, but she does specifically think, I didn't want to lapse into being Taylor Hebert. Even in a moment of rest, better to keep thinking, keep considering options. And she kind of lays down to sleep, and then after a short while, she may or may not have fully drifted off, but eventually someone comes and wakes her, and she thinks for a split second that it's her mom, but it's not. It turns out it's Contessa, one of her favorite people, and so Contessa doesn't say anything. She just leaves, and the doorway that she had used to, the like portal door she had used to walk into Taylor's room, is still open. So Taylor looks through the portal, brings all her bugs and stuff, like takes her whole swarm out of their cages, and masses them through the portal. After she decides it's not really a trap, then right as Tecton walks in, because, you know, obviously the team saw the bugs fly, so he's running over to her door to see what's up. He says, Taylor! And then she's already stepped through the portal, and it closes behind her. Vic says, I think she says, Mom? Out loud, and it kind of freaked Contessa out. Maybe. Well, the mom is in her head, actually. It would be funny if she said Mom out loud. Anyway, so, yeah, she steps through the door, and it closes, and then she sees, like, Contessa has some, like, rain or moisture of some kind on the hat that she's wearing, and she's thinking about how she's probably already collected other people into this. And then she senses something else happening and doesn't, like, right before she's going to speak, it's like some sort of phantom cape that's in multiple places at once, and is a invisible, barely tangible woman. Vic says she only thinks it's in her head. She's half asleep. Yeah, definitely. All this shit that she thinks, like, and I shouldn't say that out loud. She's just saying it. Taylor goes in a direction that Contessa sort of directs her. She holds out a hand showing what direction to go, and then she goes, and she's on the platform here. We can't see them because Taylor's sort of at the front of the platform looking out, but Gru and Tattletale are here. And let me see here. The way they describe it is boop, boop, boop. Yeah, there's only ambient light coming from large panels floor to ceiling, and it's very dim light, so you can't see anything but people's sort of silhouettes as indicated in the image. She's able to recognize a few people. Like, she can tell that one group is obviously Chevalier and other PRT people. She can tell that one group is Faultline and her crew. She can tell that who else? I think she's able to identify the sort of boring people as being Cauldron people. And people will, of course, introduce themselves, but she's able to pick up on several identities right away. And she knows Dragon and Defiant, of course. The other groups here are the Cold Capes from India who had been aligned with Fierce, the Tanda, and then a bunch of Birdcage prisoners, and then Saint, who we may remember from previous chapters as being Dragon's primary nemesis. Tattletale worked with Saint briefly. Well, she paid him off to learn about Dragon's weaknesses when they were fighting Dragon in Arc 16. So, that's the most direct contact we've had with him so far in the story. Let's see here. Oh, and he's a weirdo. He's got a tattoo of a cross on his face. Let's see here. Are there other people? Mordnog is also here, who has a floating Auroch skull, which, I gotta say, if it weren't for the Besaid Aurochs, I probably would not know what an Auroch is, but it's like the animal that's a precursor to modern-day cattle. It's the non-domesticated form. So it's kind of funny that Taylor's like, oh, yeah, I know what skull that is. The skull of an extinct species. Dodoy. It's very Taylor. Let's see here. So, they sort of, they're just waiting for everybody to be gathered, I guess, and I think that Taylor is actually the last to arrive. And Marquis is saying how he's fine with the waiting because he's breathing free air finally, and then Glastigwenier chastises him for speaking out of turn. Boop, 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 boop. I guess Fault Line's crew arrive then, so they're the final to arrive, right as Taylor does, basically. And then Contessa joins the doctor, etc. She realizes this is Cauldron, and the doctor starts talking. She says how few of the people, including Dinah, declined to show up, and then they couldn't contact Jack Slash or the three blasphemies, which are unclear what those are, but I think they've been listed in the S-Class threats before. Excuse me. Really sneezy today. And then Taylor's thinking angrily to herself after the doctor starts the conversation that they didn't do anything about Jack when it counted. And then boop 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 boop. Yeah, so they I guess they say there are other people who they reached out to, who they got in touch with, but didn't respond at all. The Yangban from the CUI, who we've seen, of course, and the Elite, who are, I believe, the really large-scale villain organization in Los Angeles. And then Tattletale tries to cut through everything, and just says they should get down to tactics talk right now. Chevalier agrees. A big long statement is made by Mordnog, and then Teacher complains that he gave her the ability to speak English, to which Mordnog replies that she would never speak English. Let's see here. And she also says, people die every day, as part of her statement, apparently. Tattletale sort of starts putting everything on the table. Enough with the bullshit and posturing. We were brought here for one reason. Well, a lot of reasons. But the main one that ties us all together is that we've got the monster rampaging around and we are not making headway. We whittle him down, he heals. Saya attacks, he teleports, and the golden fool doesn't follow. So let's be honest. Let's talk about this and introduce ourselves before we say anything, so we are not completely in the dark. Saint says some bullshit about how he has an identity he wants to keep private. Tattletale says they don't have time for that right now. They need to be playing the cards they've been keeping up their sleeves. And then Saint is basically like, well, I'm playing on a larger scale than you, so I couldn't leave myself at a critical disadvantage now. I don't have time to fight an Endbringer. I've got to hate Dragon. That's my day job. It takes all of my time, basically. It's hating Dragon. Saint tries to claim it's not him that he's talking about, but he is talking about himself. Saint is only ever thinking about either himself or Dragon. Or Teacher. Himself, Dragon, and Teacher are the three people he thinks about. The Doctor, or Dr. Mother, says that they're here to negotiate. and then Faultline retorts basically that she can't believe that the people who have been amassing parahumans and so forth, creating them also, that they definitely have like cards to play. And then Dr. Mother's just like, no, we're not going to do that. We have things, but we're not spending them here. Taylor, being on her lack of sleep game, sort of has an outburst, and she goes, bullshit! No way I believe that. Even just that portal system you've got, that's enough to change the tide of this fight. Dr. Mother gives a hard no. Tattletale's like, that's because you're afraid. Marquis brings up that he thinks he knows why they're afraid and what the big deal is, and then Dr. Mother shuts him down, saying, like, I know that you know, but if you say anything, that would be bad. Tattletale's mad that the prisoners in the birdcage figured out whatever it is she hasn't figured out yet. Marquis says that they had hands-on experience, and Tattletale instantly knows it's Panacea. To which Marquis is like happy with that she was able to make that logical leap, but he also won't tell her anymore for diplomacy reasons. Tattletale's still mad, but they sort of move on. The Tonda are kind of like, can we just get on with this? And they start talking about things. We won't be told in this chapter, but like what the actual thing is, but we are told that the Tonda have a way of nullifying Khonsu's teleportation. So they would just be able to keep fighting him perpetually and not have to chase him around the world. So we'll see what that is next chapter. But basically they want to, the doctor says that she wants to open negotiations talking about like whether they should open the birdcage or not, or let some prisoners free. The first person to speak up is Glass-Steguenier, and basically she's like, I have no interest in this fight. She alludes to some things. She says, the true end draws nearer. And then Taylor asks if she means the end of the world. She says, the end of all things, Queen Administrator. And then Taylor asks some clarifying questions, and she does not get super helpful answers. We and ours will carry on in some form, whether it happens today or 300 years from now. And then the next thing is, I am safe where I am, whether it be beyond the Endbringer's reach here or deep beneath the mountain. I will collect from among the dead, and I will keep them company until the fairy rise from the ruins. And this is when Taylor decides to stop talking to Glass-Steguenier. I thought, she's completely out of her mind. They ask if there's, Dr. Mother asks if there's anything that they could offer that would get her assistance, and Glass-Steguenier tells them 100,000 corpses, each being one naturally gifted by the fairy. So they would need to give her 100,000 non-cauldron parahumans to consume, basically. The guy from the Tonda, Taranta, just assumes that she's, like, making a joke. And he's like, we don't have time for jokes. She says she's not joking. And then, you have some angry murmurings coming from the Fault Line's crew, Zone, etc. And Taylor agrees. She's kind of, she says she managed to keep calm as she commented, but the least reliable she is when describing her own demeanor. I'm getting a better idea of why things are as screwed up as they are. We've got all the major players here, and half of you are willing to do nothing while the world burns. And Dr. Mother sort of rebuts this a little bit, but not really. And then she goes back to offering to compromise on the number of dead with Glass-Steagall. They go back and forth, and Dr. Mother says that she could give the amount in 27 years. People are really off put by this, but before anyone can even complain, Glass-Steagall is just like, no, I'm not gonna fight anyway. My word is really important, so I can't do something and then have some squishy, nebulous outcome. And then so they've not only not gotten Glass-Steagall, but they've also sort of burned their credibility with everybody else, saying that they'd barter with 100,000 lives. Although this may be why Mord Nog is willing to deal with them, because her request is much smaller. So it probably seems like, well, if they were willing to do that, I mean, I can probably get this. Marquis gets the opportunity to speak on behalf of the birdcage, aside from Glass-Steagall, saying that he wants to free himself along with a few of his extra people. Chevalier hard knows this. Marquis is basically like, I'm trying to negotiate with other people, not you, Chevalier. And then Chevalier gives arguments as to why they're not going to let anybody out of the birdcage. Saint tries to be like, well, you captured them before, so surely if they got away, you could capture them again. Saint, who has two goals in life, one of which is to free Teacher from captivity. No ulterior motives here. You know, they have a few more back and forths about why they'd open up the birdcage. Chevalier asks for backup from Dragon. Dragon gives an equal hard no and says, if you intend to rescue them, I'll deploy everything I have to stop you. Neither of us can afford the losses at this juncture. Saint tries to like twist the way people are acting, being like, if we did free them and we did set full a handful of deserving individuals, then you'd be fine with that. And Dragon's like, you suck, Saint. We don't see eye to eye on this. Shut up. Also, you suck. So Marquis just says that the people he wants to free are the people currently in the room, as well as Panacea and Lung. That's all he wants. Lustrum speaks up, and she's like, well, I've got people who should be freed too. Teacher's like, I've got people who should be freed double too. Then when they like actually... Dragon presents it like, if you all got two, that's 36 people. That's basically 1/5 of the birdcage being let free. There's no way. Chevalier and Dragon are able to sort of win the day, even though Marquis is still complaining, saying like they're not the only people who get to pick, etc. So they end up, Chevalier actually strikes a deal that he's willing to shuffle people around to let a couple people from Cauldron stay in the Protectorate. But they couldn't be promoted. And because he offers this, then the Doctor is like, okay, we're going to keep the birdcage people in the birdcage. Marquis asks if they'll be like forcing them out through the portals back into the birdcage. And Dr. Mother describes that if they stayed in this facility, they'd just die because there's no food or water and no way to get any on the barren earth it's on. Vic is like, what the fuck happened to our new protectorate? Yeah, I know. I can't believe the protectorate's cutting deals. That's crazy. He's like, you can have a couple of spies as a treat. Yeah, that's right, Vic. They're the little treats. I don't even, when you think about it, it's like, when you've got a super good clairvoyant that can see all locations of all Earths, do you even need spies? And then a classic Tattletale line, I can't believe I'm not getting in on this. Which is in response to Marquis asking, like, don't I get any credit for not saying the thing I wasn't supposed to say? Dr. Mother sort of gets something whispered to her by Contessa, which is assumedly Contessa, like, saying to her the things that she needs to say to alter the conversation. I mean, including the way that she moves in and is surreptitious. It's like every little thing about the way Contessa acts is part of a preconceived plan kind of thing from her power. And then Dr. Mother basically says, like, look, you, Marquis, and Teacher both have things that I could do that would be bad. I have leverage over you, so you shouldn't reveal what you know. That secret thing, wink, wink. And then the birdcage people are basically saying that they'll still be ready to fight when the people are coming to them. Chevalier is saying that if they're coming to them for help, they've already lost. And Marquis gets his ass saying, I think you're doing a very good job of getting yourselves to that juncture. Taylor's mad. She's saying it's on the fault of all of them, aside from the birdcage prisoners, for not doing enough. And then says they need to actually talk over what resources they have. They start trying to figure out, what can we do to stymie the Endbringers? They're pretty sure there's some designer of the Endbringers that they're, like, fabricated creatures, but they can't find the designer of the creatures of the Endbringers, despite all of the resources of Cauldron, despite Tattletale and Faultline. None of them are able to make headway on that point. Let's see here. After a little bit of bickering, then finally the Tonda say that they're doing this because of Weaver. It's because Weaver helped make Fierce's attack work that they are kind of gambling on this. And it's revealed to us that Fierce was killed by Behemoth in the portion after he had burrowed away, when he was basically Stick Behemoth. So he burrowed away and was destroying all the stuff with his big seismic attack. And part of that was going in and killing Fierce and possibly others inside of that complex. And so he's saying that they owe Taylor, and then this is part of like paying her back, but also they demand a favor from everyone else in the room aside from Weaver and Chevalier. The doctor likes this. The cauldron often works in favors, like vague down the line favors. So this is a currency they're very used to. Let's see here. Everybody sort of accepts this. Mordnog doesn't acknowledge it, but everybody else is fine with the terms. Mordnog says some other thing in, non-English, and then Faultline asks who she is. Tattletale gets to do her favorite thing, which is explain things to people who don't know things, but especially people that she doesn't like. And apparently Mordnog has controlled a huge region in Namibia for 8 years, and everyone else in the region has to go to her and ask if it's okay before they do any actions, because she's completely controls the area with an iron fist. Tattletale says it's like how the Undersiders have taken over a city, but it's just one person. And they're asking her what she would need to fight, and the doctor keeps trying to keep cutting people off because she wants to agree to the deal without everyone in the room knowing what the deal was. But Dragon, of course, can speak all languages and is saying, no, this is an unacceptable deal. And then it gets put out there that what she wants is to consume 5,000 humans with her shadow after the fight, because it expends her power to use the shadow, and then she has to eat people to get the power back. Dragon says, in exchange for 5,000 lives, and then the doctor says, a small price to pay. How many have died as we conducted this meeting? After the doctor says that, then Mordnog says something that translates back into the contract is sealed. Marquis admires Mordnog for a moment. Chevalier says that after they're done fighting Khonsu, they're going to find and stop Mordnog before the doctor can pay her with the humans. And the doctor does not care even a little. She's just like, stop us then, or try, as it may be. Then she brings up the idea of setting up escape routes for humans, because if they can't defeat the Endbringers, then the Earth they're on is cooked. So they're going to use portals that Faultline has been setting up. Faultline says that she won't work with the doctor. And when Saint calls her short-sighted, she says, I think this is pretty big picture. Money talks, and I don't like how this money sounds. She spends 5,000 lives like someone else would spend change. Cauldron made innocent people into monsters. They took everything from them. I can't deal with that in good faith. But she's not opposed to working with anyone here. She even says she's going to give Chevalier a discount. Tattletale gets mad because if other portals are leading to the world the Brockton Bay portal goes to, then the Brockton Bay portal is much less valuable. So she feels like she's getting really, like, not only cut out of the deal, but that this is actively undercutting her. Let's see here. So that negotiation's over with, and Taylor focuses them back on the Endbringer that comes next after Khonsu. And Defiant says that they can't set up countermeasures until they know what the thing does. then the doctor says they'll have a meeting when that happens too, basically. Taylor really doesn't like what's happening here. She feels like really sick with herself about everything that's happening, and is like, this is everything that the PRT has been trying to tell the public that isn't happening with parahumans. And she's right. It's like Vic brought up earlier, the shiny new protectorate, it has already gone. Oh yeah, the doctor says that the reason she brought Tattletale here was to make sure none of the people who had arrived at the meeting were the designer of the Endbringers. She confirms that they aren't. But people start like leaving. The doctor's asking the PRT people if they'll be back for the next meeting, like whether they should bother reaching out to them. He says they don't have a choice, and that he knows that it was sort of set up by Contessa to leave them in this position where they have to come back. And then the doctor won't let them know why she's doing any of this. At this point, it seems to be that it's... oh, I forgot to mention that as soon as the Tonda had left, then Gru leaves the group. He whispers something to Tattletale, doesn't say anything to Taylor, and then like leaves without turning his head toward her. And Taylor doesn't want to interrupt the conversation that's being had between Chevalier and Dr. Mother to ask Tattletale what's up. And then let's see here. Taylor confronts the doctor about how they've been operating, saying that they were like bringing up all the things that sort of seem out of line in terms of like when they were and weren't willing to fight what, like between the Endbringers, the Slaughterhouse 9, etc. And she was able to come to the conclusion that they were, and Coyle was, like guinea pigs for seeing if they could have a parahuman-run society. And she accuses them of trying to or wait, no, that's in a second. So they basically like Dr. Mother says that she's willing for all of the Cauldron people to go down in history as villains, but it's worth doing if they can save everything. Gregor speaks up for the first time here, and he says that basically they're too sure of themselves, and the doctor is saying like, oh, do morals even matter if our alternative is a grim and hopeless end? And he's like, no. Well, I'll just quote him here because it's actually really good. He goes, I would never question your morals. I know you have none. I merely wonder why you are so confident you will succeed in all of this, that you will save the world and you will achieve your new world order and your parahuman leadership. The doctor mentions that they're following the path to victory, and that even though the path is getting cloudier and narrower every day, they couldn't stand by while everyone on the earth dies a grisly and violent death. Taylor's shocked and says, you know how the world ends. Of course. We already saved it once. It's like the I don't know. I thought this moment was like, wah, when I first read it. So that's the old 2010s movie ad. Bwah! That's when that would happen. Then at that point, the doctor gives them, she says, you'd better hurry if you want transportation to the battlefield, to get them out, basically, and then leaves. So it basically ends with them trying to, with, Dr. Mother trying to mic drop, and I think it works. She mic drops so hard that even Tattletale and Taylor don't have anything to say. Yeah, another chapter in the bag. I think this is a good chapter. Of course I do. Really like seeing all these characters interact who would never get a chance to talk to each other. Mordnog's an interesting character and is just like introduced here. Love it whenever we get to see from Glass de Guenye. Marquis is doing his banters. He's fun. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a really good chapter overall, and sort of I'm glad this happens now because it's like not only upping the stakes, but also upping the reach and scale of these different characters during the time skip. So it's not like suddenly they're doing a council when everything's going down in 2 years at the end of the world. It's like they're starting to set this up now. So when it happens, it's already normalized later. For arc stuff, yeah. So we're thrown forward again in this chapter. There are no chapters in this arc that lead directly into the next chapter, like what happens in the majority of the book. Things are clearly getting desperate for the heroes, and they expect there's another Endbringer on the horizon. They've like accurately been able to tell there's more than just Khonsu. The idea of the world ending in 2013 is like ever present for Taylor, and it sort of guides the way she thinks about situations like this, I think. More time stuff for the time skip arc. Anyway, in the characters section, we've got a brief mention of Legend, Eidolon, and Pretender as Alexandria, mentioned as the big guns. They've just been flying around the world fighting and fighting. They take little breaks, but they are more or less going nonstop. There are probably others who are in this category of like people flying around to lots of the fights, but these are the ones mentioned as like powerful enough for Taylor to think about. We've got Tecton. I pulled out that line from earlier. Do you think you're more powerful now with the wards? As well as, you ask too much of yourself. You could have all the power in the world and you'd still feel like you should do more. Vic had joked earlier when we were messaging this morning about how Tecton becomes Taylor's therapist here. And I think that's true. She unloads to him a lot, and the way he talks to Taylor is similar to the way that Jessica talks to her, which I find very funny. Tecton, he's good support, but he's dubious of Taylor's decision to leave through the portal. I wrote Contessa and some sort of phantom cape. Who knows who the phantom cape could be? But someone working for Cauldron. Contessa is able to really, even in really small ways, affect the situation. Like, even just the way that she moves around, when she decides to whisper in the doctor's ear, etc. Every last bit of it is perfectly calculated to get different people in the room all doing the right thing. Or at least the thing that she wants them to do, you know. We still have not really gotten much from Contessa's personality. Because, I mean, we can basically assume anything she's doing is due to her power and not really due to her. So, don't know what's going on yet. Dr. Mother and the Number Man. The Number Man doesn't say anything, but he's sitting there. Dr. Mother, I really like when she's negotiating. I like her weird, distant affect. Even the other characters arguing for similar stuff, they just don't have the same kind of air about them. Dr. Mother's the kind of person who it would probably be really annoying to have a conversation with, but she's a really great book character. Mordnog. Mordnog disdains English. Everyone in this room. The idea of helping other people. I mean, if you have a power that is powered by eating people, you probably have a really different worldview. They're just grist. I guess I don't have that much more to say about her. Oh, I didn't mention it during the chapter, but the skull on her shadow skull beast changes during the meeting to be like a human skull during part of it. And it can seemingly just shift forms with time. Unclear if that means anything or if it's just visual. I would assume if we knew Mordnog for longer that we might be able to glean something from what state the skull was in the same way that Taylor's emotions dictate if the bugs are freaking out around her. And that people Imp notice that. Anyway, Glass de Guenye. We get the classic 100,000 corpses, each being one naturally gifted by the fairy. Glass de Guenye has this totally different idea of the powers and everything from everybody else. Mentioning the fairy, the fact that they get their powers from the fairy. She sees things on a different time scale, seems to be ageless. She calls Taylor the Queen Administrator, and she calls Taranta the Astrologer. She clearly sees their different powers as having different roles. Let's see here. I want to try to find that section. Arts. Well, I can't find it this moment, but there's this part where she's talking about how, she wants to see... Oh, yes. This is the... I'm not joking, astrologer. I would like to see their lights dancing in the air. I have seen only glimmers, fragments of the performance. To see it all at once. Yes. So that's why she wants to consume all those parahumans all at once, is to see the full performance. And let's see here. So yes, very mysterious character, very powerful. Everyone wants her on their side. No one wants to pay all the lives. The next person is Taranta, the representative from the Tanda. he's called the astrologer. As I recall, his power is to, and we'll see it later in action, is to basically dunk meteors on people. He just like picks a target and calls down a meteor. Pretty cool stuff. Hard to not collateral damage people when that's your power, so he has to use it very selectively. He's cool. He's down to business. He's willing to work with Weaver because of her sacrifice to help Fierce. So he thinks that Weaver's the homie, and he's right. I put Marquis, but really I meant Marquis and all of the delegation from the birdcage, except Teacher, who gets his own little blurb in a second. Marquis is speaking for the rest of them for a while, and he is trying to use his silver tongue to negotiate their release from the birdcage so that they'll help fight Endbringers. For a lot of them, it wouldn't be a bad offer. But, of course, there are people who present problems among the birdcage residents. Like, if they actually let Marquis and Lung go, it might be cool for a while or whatever, but I'm pretty sure Lung would start being like, and this is my area again, and wrecking everybody's shit. And then Marquis would probably be trying to secretly do the same thing. But we get lovable Marquis in this chapter. He's lots of fun. He's a regent type, I would say. The book has many regent types, but he is one of them. He's not like crude like regent, but he's just willing to sort of get under people's skin. And he's always trying to smooth talk the way to the next situation. Talking Teacher for a moment. He, we know his secret is that he has a secret line of communication to Saint. And that's the secret that the doctor's not telling, so that he won't tell the secret about how the powers are linked with the possible end of the world, etc. The stuff they learned from Amy that was only alluded to the audience. Teacher, we got to keep in our head, Teacher used his power on Mord Nog, which that's probably not good. We've seen that Teacher will do anything to weasel his way into situations and use his power on powerful people. And the smart parahumans out there refuse. So, yeah. Next up is Saint. Saint is constantly arguing to release the birdcage prisoners because, as previously mentioned, he has two goals in life: get Teacher out of jail and kill Dragon. He's a douche. He's very sure that defeating Dragon will save the world, and he doesn't seem to give a fuck about anything else. Next up, Dragon and Defiant. They are firmly in the Chevalier camp. They hold fast with him and are like, there's no way, bro. We're not releasing any of these birdcage prisoners. I already read it before, but if you intend to rescue them, I'll deploy everything I have to stop you. Neither of us can afford the losses at this juncture. Yeah. I guess I don't have that much more to say about them. I think it's good that Dragon's there to act as an interpreter for Mord Nog. It all sort of... I know that he would have found a way to make it work regardless, but Wildbow had all the right pieces in place to make the conversation flow well and have the fact that Mord Nog is not speaking English work for some characters and not others, and we have people translating at the right moment with different motivations. So to have Dragon, one of the like main heroes, be able to understand her was important. Chevalier and other PRT crew, they are holding fast to the hero's line of reasoning, and he's mad that they've done this, like, basically trap where they use Path to Victory to make it so he has to keep coming to these meetings. But he is going to keep coming. So he's like, you got me. As far as the PRT, do I have anything more to say about them? He is negotiating things. I keep saying he's with the PRT crew, but I should say he's the Protectorate crew. He's negotiating things that the PRT would not negotiate. He's willing to do deals that go around even the, like, directors and stuff that are secrets from them, because the deals are being made in this room between parahumans and Dr. Mother. Yep. Glad he's the representative from the heroes. Glad he's getting more screen time. He's a fun one. So I wrote Faultline / Gregor. They obviously have, like, really different priorities than any of these villain groups. They are, like, the most aligned generally with Chevalier, but also with, like, Taylor and Dragon. They won't compromise their morals to do work for the Doctor, but are, like they said, willing to even extend a discount to Chevalier because he's standing up to the Doctor and saying, no, I'm going to fight you and not let you pay more nog. So I think she's impressed with their gumption and is like, I will give you a discount. And I think Gregor is addressing something that needs to be addressed when he says that they're too confident that they'll win. Because it's like, they've done all this bad stuff and maybe they win, but, like, there's nothing saying that they're about to win. Because whatever they're about to fight, according to Cauldron, is considerably more dire and bleak than the Endbringers, who they already don't know how to defeat. So, Faultline and Gregor both do good work in this chapter. Great characters, again. Gru says nothing. Gru hurts Taylor's feelings by leaving and not talking to her. She doesn't really know what he's feeling. He's probably overwhelmed, has similar, like, upset, conflicted feelings to her and to, like, Faultline, etc. But this is all too much to deal with, so he just leaves without saying anything. I'm trying to think. So this is set in, like, January or something of, let me see here. 1, 2. Let's see. The time period for this is January 20th, 2012. So it has been like 6 months since she left the Undersiders. 7? It's been like 7 months. So it's hard to say what's happening with Gru exactly. Tattletale is being, of course, peak Tattletale. She's constantly like staring around at people, like hungry for information, like trying to get any stuff she can off of the conversations, precise wordings, back and forths. She's sticking her nose in things. She's stirring up conflict. Um, uh, uh, what else? Oh, I pulled this line because it was a classic. Get fucking real. I'm confident on this count. When she was accused of being wrong by fault line. Or maybe she was like supposing Tattletale's right or something. But yeah, she gets to sort of I don't know, make herself known and form connections with the other groups just by being one of the first people to talk. I think she probably would have done it whether it was smart or not, but I do think it was smart for her to make herself so central to the early conversation and to keep herself as part of it. Then let's see. All right, final. We got Taylor. I know I already read it earlier. Another classic quote. I didn't want to lapse into being Taylor Hebert. Even in a moment of rest, better to keep thinking, keep considering options. That's classic Taylor stuff. That's like the most Taylor sentence. 2 sentences. It's just so funny. I don't know. She is so neurotic, and this meeting, she's already half like she's super tired, so she's like at the point of being half awake, and she's just kind of loses her patience several times and yells at people. But yeah, this meeting is awful to her. She doesn't like where things are going. She's worried about things sliding in the future, and I think she's generally on the money on everything here. It's just like what can be done to divert things at this point, unclear. I talked a lot about how she felt during the chapter, so I don't have much more to say. I like that opening thing she does with Tecton, where she just like starts vomiting all her feelings at him. It just like all comes out, and he keeps being like, I think you need to go to sleep. She's like, no, I'm a good person, right? I don't need to be a good person. Being good or bad was never a thing. It's a lot of fun when Taylor has no sleep. It's like back in arc 13 or whatever. Yeah, I'm going to move on to the powers, knowledge, and world building bit. We know that Dinah, Alcott, and Adelaide specifically turned down invitations to the meeting. Vic says r/no sleep. Yeah, Adelaide is someone who we'll see later, I think. He's a South American cape. The 3 blasphemies, we know that that's an S-class threat. They couldn't be contacted. We don't really know anything about the 3 blasphemies yet. Jack Slash, of course, could not be contacted. We know that that's because he's in stasis. Let's see here. They sort of mention a few other groups that are not there. The Yangban and the Elite, who were invited but didn't show. They don't make it 100% clear, but there could be other like villain groups or whoever that were invited but didn't show up. Let's see here. Oh, I like that bit where this meeting place is specifically set up for meetings like this, and Dr. Mother says, "You'll go willingly. This place cannot sustain life. It's a facility in the middle of a wasteland, and your Earth is several universes away." Pretty good. And I thought it was crazy how the scale on the stakes jump like wildly. Back in the day, Jack Slash is threatening Theo, saying that he'll kill 1,000 people in 2 years. Mord Nog is saying, you need to feed me 5,000 people right after the fight is won. And Glass-Steagall is like, 100,000 parahumans all at once. So yes, things are getting out of control. And I really do think the 100,000 is thrown out earlier in the chapter so that Mord Nog has like cover to ask for the 5,000 and it's not as big an ask. And I wouldn't be shocked if like the direction that Dr. Mother steered the conversation was at least partially led by advice from Contessa. Like, start with talking to Glass-Steagall so that they would hear this gigantic demand so that the other one would seem small, kind of thing. When Cauldron gets involved, you always got to think about how the Path to Victory power is playing into the scene, and everything gets a... It's not that it's harder to follow, but it's harder to be sure of like why people are doing things. Yeah, I really like the idea that they'll be having like more meetings, that this was the first of many, because they know that there's going to be like new threats arising. What else? I don't know, just like the legwork that getting these disparate characters all in the same room, all talking at the same time, did in terms of like telling us and telling Taylor stuff. I think it's really good. But I think I'm gonna move on to the audience participation. So, as a reminder, the audience participation question was, which character are you most aligned with from the council meeting scene? And the answer we've got here, Vic said, probably Faultline's crew. They're basically the only ones like, you guys fucking suck, I'm not taking your money. Which makes sense. I think probably a lot of people would be in line with Faultline and Gregor and such. I think I'm most on the same page with Taranta. Because I personally felt like he was being really pragmatic, and he's like also repaying a debt while like moving the meeting forward. And Taranta is the first person, and I mean, I'm sure they discussed it prior, but he and his companions are the first ones to agree to something, and they say that they're in for the fight. So that's who I align with the most. Then let's see here. I guess we don't have any other answers, but I would assume that probably a lot of audience members, like, not of necessarily this show, but people reading the book would, especially if they have like a more utilitarian idea of things, would be more in line with people who want to release the birdcage people more directly, like Dr. Mother or Marquis. Vic says the quote from Mord Nog, people die every day. Yeah. I think because It's unclear to me exactly how many people Konsu has killed, but I would imagine that it's well over 5,000 by now. So I see why people are willing to do a big barter, but yeah, I don't know what the tipping point would be for an equation like that, for how many people it would have to be, but I do think that like the Cold Capes, the Tonda just didn't want to weigh in one way or the other. They were uninterested in negotiating about whether Mordnog would be there or not. Well, seeing as we ain't got no more answers, I'm just gonna cut it there. If anybody's listening to this in the future, you can always comment answers. I know no one will, but you can. The 25.6 question is, did you feel like 25.6 and or Arc 25 skipped too much time? And we'll see what people say in a week. Start this. I'm gonna start this. Greg says cheers for the stream. Cheers to you as well. And Vic says, oh yeah. Thank you both for being here. This music you're hearing is, as it has been, Crushed by ScarlettXOX. You can find her work at twitch.tv/Scarlett_Rogue. Our Discord server link, as well as the other links, can be found in the stream description and the channel description. The author of the work being discussed can be supported on Patreon at patreon.com/Wildbow. The full text of the work is available for free online at parahumans.wordpress.com. There is also a fan-made audiobook of the entire work at audioworm.rain-online.org. Anyway, we'll be back next time for 25.6.